All right, guys. Today in class, we talked about percent again. So we know that percent is 1 per every 100. We know that percent is a comparison to something out of 100. So for example, if we had a quiz, you probably wouldn't have 100 questions on it. We would have 20, but you're still going to get a percent out of 100, which is a nice round number that everybody knows. So like, for example, if you got 18 out of the 20 right, that comparison or that equivalent fraction would be a 90 out of 100, which is a 90%. So you'd get a 90% on that quiz, even though you didn't get 90 out of 100 questions right. All right, so there's 2% proportions that we're going to use, and the first one is over of equals a percent over 100, and then the other one is part over whole equals percent over 100. Now, we talked earlier in the week about how is over of we use for numerical problems, and part over whole is used for real-world problems. Today, what we focus on in class is real-world problems that have 2 steps. Okay, so you have to find the percent and then you have to do something with it. And we talked about how it's really easy to forget that second step. So you got to pay special attention to the words in the problem. So let's take a look at this first example here. It says Sarah went to her local zoo where 75% of its exhibits featured mammals. If the zoo features 20 exhibits in total, then how many of the zoo's exhibits did not feature mammals? So first off, we need to set up our percent proportion. This is a real world problem. So we're going to write part over whole equals a percent over 100. And then we're going to fill in what we know. Okay, so we know that this spot is always a 100 because percent is always out of 100. Okay, we also know it's 75% are mammals because it tells us in the problem. We know that the zoo features a total of 20 exhibits, so that's our whole. And for the part, we're looking for how many were the 75% that were mammals. Okay, so we're going to cross multiply and we get 20 times 75, which gives us 1,500. We're going to divide out our remaining 100 and we get that 15 exhibits, which represented the 75%, were mammals. Okay, but the question doesn't ask that. The question says, how many did not feature mammals? So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take the 20 total exhibits minus the 15 that did feature mammals and get that 5 exhibits did not feature mammals. Okay, so that last step is really important, where you take the total minus the 15 that did to get the 5 that did not. Okay, so if you look, that's bold, that's underlined, that's to help us remember that we've got one more thing to do after we find the percent. Okay, all right, so let's take a look at this one. It says, in a particular suburb, there were 13 families that own a dog. If there are a total of 20 families in this suburb, what percent of the families did not have a dog? Okay, so in our information here, we have everything that all the families that do own a dog, but the question is asking, so how many do not? So at the end, we're going to have to do some math. All right, so let's set up, this is a real world problem, so we're going to use part over whole is equal to a percent over 100, okay? We're going to fill in what we know, okay? We don't know what percent of the families own dogs. We know it's 13 out of 20, but we don't know the percent, okay? 13 is our part that own dogs. 100, it goes down here because our this spot right here always represents 100. And then we have 20 total families on the street. So we're going to cross multiply 13 times 100 and we get 1,300. We're going to divide out, sorry, that circle should be here. We're going to divide out our remaining 20 and we get that 65% of the street have dogs. So 65% of the families, they have dogs, okay? But the question says what percent do not have dogs. So we have to take a 100 because that's the total percent minus the 65% that do, and we get that 35% did not have dogs.